everybody. I am so happy you've joined us today. Everything we do at the Brooklyn Museum is done with a passionate belief in art and artists, so it is an honor to be here today with two deeply inspiring artists who have used their art for true social good. Not only do they believe in the primacy of the experience between art and the viewer, they believe in the power of art to transform culture, society, and even policy. And each of them is contributing to greater goodness in the world with empathy and understanding. Everything Tania Bruguera does, performances, sculptures, public art, is motivated from a sense of urgency to fight oppression and create greater dignity in the world. She's done so with courage. In 2011, when I was still the president and artistic director of Creative Time, I had the honor of working with Tania to present her dream project of her dream project of raising attention for immigrant rights with Immigrant Movement International, along with our partners at the Queen's Museum, with then director Tom Finkelpearl. Tom is here today, and as the commissioner of the Department of Cultural Affairs, he has paved the way for Tania to be an artist in residence at the New York City Department of Immigrant Affairs. Tom, thank you. Like Weiwei, Tania is an ardent fighter for the inalienable human right to free and creative expression. For this, she too has received globally prestigious awards and recognition, and for this, she too has been arrested. In 2014, she was apprehended by the Cuban government for attempting to stage a performance, mind you, one she had done previously, in her native Havana's Revolution Square, for simply planning to set up a microphone where citizens could express their dreams for Cuba. Tania was arrested multiple times and spent months under house arrest. When it comes to what's right, Tania never backs down. So just recently, she announced she'll be running for president of Cuba when Raul Castro steps down, as he has said he will do in 2018. Believe me, I know Tania, she's serious about this, right, Tom? Yep. Of course, this is also absurd, as Cuba is not a democracy. Tania always gets right to the heart of things. She once told me, "I don't want to make an art that points at the thing," politics in this case. I want to be the thing. Weiwei, welcome home to Brooklyn. Activist, architect, curator, filmmaker, even sometimes a pop star, Weiwei is perhaps the most widely recognized artist in the world. Today, he returns to Brooklyn for the first time since his legendary detainment by the Chinese government in 2011 that led to 4 years of house arrest. Brooklyn holds a special place in Weiwei's heart, as it is where he first lived when moving to New York City in the 1980s, and it's home to his retrospective here at our museum in 2014. How many of you got to see that retrospective? Pretty mind-blowing, right? And by the way, our former director, Arnold Lehman, sends his love to all of you. He also holds a special place in our heart. From the show, that it was clear that there is no holding Weiwei back either, and there is no project too big for him. From his collaboration on the Bird's Nest Stadium for Beijing's 2008 Olympics, sunflower seeds in 2010 scattered millions of hand-painted, handmade porcelain seeds in the Tate's Turbine Hall, to his recent work calling attention to the Syrian refugee crisis. Weiwei, we thank you. You may recall that at Weiwei's retrospective at the museum, it included a site-specific installation of 600 bicycles in our Great Hall. And today, we share with you our brand new edition of A이웨이웨이 bikes made just for us. It's a very limited edition, and it does what no other artwork, I think, has ever done. It looks great as you ride around it on the street as well as on the wall. So you too can order one today. Check it out, it's at the entrance of the auditorium. And I want to thank Listen Gallery for their support, and Wovo, who's storing this and actually showing it at their storage and viewing space for us. So who's up for holiday shopping today? I'd also like to thank one of our dearest friends, the one and only Larry Warsh, whose commitment to A이웨이웨이 and to his presence at the Brooklyn Museum is endless. I want to thank Sharon Matt Atkins, our Vice Director for Exhibitions and Collections Management, for her tireless energy toward the 2014 retrospective and her ongoing relationship with Weiwei. And also Dana Gluck, our Special Projects whiz kid, whose determination made today's program possible. And last but not certainly least, I'd like to thank our trustees and board of advisors who are here today that have made everything possible at the Brooklyn Museum. Stephanie Ingracia, Jill Bernstein, Ellen Taubman, Victoria Rogers, Leslie Beller, Nicola Durovchek, Anya Rubix, Susan Sills. Thank you very much for what you do for the museum. Now, yes, I think they deserve applause. And finally, I want to say that we're in the midst of a tremendous moment in New York for Aiweiwei. In addition to today, his only public speaking engagement during his visit to New York, we are also all fortunate to have an opportunity to witness 4 simultaneous exhibitions in November. At Listen Gallery in Chelsea, hello to our Listen family, to 2 shows with Mary Boone, and a show at Deitch Projects with our very dear friend, Jeffrey Deitch. So without further ado, it is my absolute honor and deepest pleasure to welcome our special guests to the stage. Tania, Aiweiwei, please join us. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for coming on a Saturday. And I want to thank Anne Pasternak, who always have wonderful, wild ideas, for inviting me to be here. I also want to thank the staff of the museum for all the help and assistance in this. And I want to welcome Weiwei today. And we're going to start having a conversation. I'm going to put some images of his work. I'm going to ask him questions, and then so on. And then you guys can ask us questions. I have to say that when Anne first emailed me to tell me that about this idea, the first thing I thought about was the face of my interrogators in Cuba when they know we are here together today. I'm sure they don't want us to exchange notes. So, okay, but hopefully we do. Okay, so here, of course, we're starting to see when you were in New York. And of course, in one of your many interviews, you said that you left China to escape the political situation back then. Then you came to New York, and you integrated to the art scene here, no? But then you went back to China. And at the time you were in China, there was this kind of, as we saw it from the West, this kind of effervescent and enthusiastic and critical Chinese art scene when you came back, and you were, of course, helped on that very much. But then now it looks like from here that you are one of the very few dissident voices in the art in China. So my question, because in Cuba we're going through the same phenomenon, where we had a very critical mass of artists that now are very interested in the market and in pleasing the visitors, let's say. So my question will be, if you can, tell me more or less, how was the process in China, in the art scene in China, to go from this kind of critical subversive scene to this kind of more commodity art scene, if that's correct?
Thank you. First. This is Aiweiwei, and first I'm very grateful to have a chance to be in the museum. And 2 years ago, I had a show here. That time I was not allowed to come, but I do feel I'm already part of this institution. I think Brooklyn Museum is a very special institution. It's a little bit off-center, have its own unique way, and it's very important for the art community in both metropolitan area and in Brooklyn. And thank you for bear with me for this past next hour. before we come here, I started to take selfies with many of you. In the garden, I thought it would be nice because outside is such a beautiful day, and we can just stay there taking selfies for the next 2 hours. And to answer the question, China is a very different situation. It's very similar to Cuba, I should say. Since end of 1970, I'm one among the first group of so-called avant-garde. It's not so avant-garde. It's a little different from what the government is doing. But that already being seen as rebelling or dissident. So it's the name always given by Western media. Mm-hmm. And you can see that creates some kind of group which using the Western, more Western influence and doing works. But of course, that is not really influential in the society like China, I assume in Cuba also, because basically there's no platform. So those people are really in a terrible situation, and but the only attraction would be to foreign embassies or foreign media. So then I left. I spent about 12 years in the United States, 10 years in this city, mostly in Manhattan. I spent about a few months in Williamsburg, Lorimer Street, and my landlord, his name is Rabinovich, and I guess, and at that time, that area is very quiet. Of course, there's no artists in that area. As Parsons students, we rent an apartment, and it's a very mixed neighborhood. So talk about the art today in China. There's very little question about. Or even in relating to political issues, because that is clearly forbidden. And so after generations has been punished, if you have any opinion or any even just attitude, can be openly questioning the authority, which will be punished. So. My father's generation and the same. My father was a poet and was sent to exile for years. And so it's very clear it's not allowed. Even China has been booming in many ways, just like the West, or even in many ways has much more freedom than the West, because the law and the establishment is not there. And seems everything goes, but only one thing it doesn't happen is so-called freedom or freedom of speech. So I think when there's no freedom of speech, there's no freedom. And but I often make a silly statement, so forgive me. And to say. Then the art in general is trying to meet the demand of the Western market. Whoever pays, then it become trendy and attract all those students, and that's the condition.
Yeah, it's the same in Cuba at the moment. It's interesting that you talk about this history of repression, of course, that is so long there. In our case, we also have generations of people who have been afraid. So when you have the censorship is starting in the house. Like your father or your mother say, don't do this because you're going to have a problem. And so it's interesting. A lot of people say about you that you are very courageous. So I wonder, what advice would you give to somebody that feel afraid of repercussions?
Yeah, it's a good question because in such a large society, we have 1.3 billion people. And you rarely to see one stand up in any kind of principle. So I often ask why. I think, if your child be poisoned by some kind of pollution in the milk powders, that could the devastating over 30 million children. And where's their parents? Mm-hmm. And when an earthquake would put 5,000 students under those rebels and all dead, where are those parents? And then we understand this society is such a very established communist. It come to every level, so it will really erase or silence any person from a very very bottom condition. So each family, like if your child was killed in earthquake, would have 7 officials just focus on one parent. They become like warfare and give pressure to you because you can lose your job, you can never find peace in your life if you fight. And which make it's all under the name so-called stability of a society or a harmonious society, but it really at the cost of every family, everybody, and sacrifice the very essential beliefs of justice or fairness. So naturally, if you do anything, your parents will say, already affect your daddy's job and your sister-in-law's job. They would check on every aspect. It's a very, very sophisticated system.
And very in detail. They go into the person in detail. They're not
they're
talking
very
about
detailed. They're very precise.
Very precise.
And they make sure there's no single voice can be heard.
And they use a lot of resources. I had 4 interrogators. They rotate. And I'm like, what? Do they have nothing else to do, these people? It's interesting how they spend so much money and resources. Talking about that made me think, and preparing for this, I saw a lot of your interviews, and I was saying, wow, a lot of things look very similar in terms of, as you say, how the state respond to these threats. They are just humans asking for the rights or asking the wrong question on the view. And for example, in Cuba, it's very normal that the state police work with the Ministry of Culture. Like, for example, in my case, you had the head of the Arts Council in Cuba going to a meeting to talk to the artists who are in the School of the Arts, the professional students, together with the person from the Department of State Police, and talk openly, we are collaborating, no problem. It's very interesting. So I wonder, just to change some, to see if I can get some wisdom here about how to fight them there. How did they, what kind of strategies they have used in terms of with the artists? How is this collaboration with the state police or the state security and with the arts? Do they also have these things where the Ministry of Culture is trying to intervene? Or for example, in Cuba now, there are this list of artists who are the official artists, And if you're not in the list, if you say something wrong, you are not in the list. So none of these people here, when they go to Cuba, will see those artists. So I wonder how they do it there. How do they do that stuff there? How do they control the information and with the artist?
Before, it was much easier. Before the so-called free economy, it was much easier because everyone belonged to a working unit. Mm-hmm. Not only you, every family, and school or street, even they don't have this kind of community, but on every street they would have one how do you call it? Someone in the street just to watch or to maintain some kind of security code. So you all have a communist control. So anything happens, police or state police, and also street community worker, which is also work for the party, and also the union, the working unit, they also have a party representative. They would all come together. They all be informed. And if you're in school, the school teacher and the principal all informed. So you are really, in a society which clearly being watched and trained, and just, this is very professional. That's what they do, and they do the best. So it's very simple for them when there's no clear law to protect freedom of speech, and the judicial system is not independent, and there's no free press. There's no so simply anybody who acted on its own mind, which is very rare because the education already told you this is not possible. But if something happened, like someone like me, is kind of a little bit naive or crazy in a certain sense, and then you can easily be sent to a mental hospital because must be something wrong. Even this is will hurt you or hurt your family, and you still not to listen and still act the way you do. Must be something wrong, so.
I have a question. Of course I do. No, but following on that...
Seems you have too many questions.
No, following on that, at least one of the ways of attack, at least during socialist or communist time, at least in Cuba, is that if you dissent, you are representing the far right crazy wing of the immigrants of your country in another place or something like that. They accuse you of being a mercenary of the CIA. They accuse you to be like somebody, like an ignorant. They accuse of so many things if you dare to criticize. And I was wondering, what is your, in the political spectrum, where do you situate yourself?
What's the question?
Where do you situate yourself politically in all the variety of options that sometimes some people have?
I don't have a clear political party or so-called left wing or right wing. I consider myself as an individual, and which I think always would be the strongest position one person can have as an individual, and that's how my voice being heard about, and how many people see me as an example. Because they can sense what an individual can be. And of course, all those with the help of internet. Without internet, I would not be Weiwei today. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I was set up internet by state. That time I was an architect, and I was quite famous architects in China. They said, you have to have this blog. So, that's 2005, China just set up their own blog called Sina. They said, you are the perfect person to have this blog. Which turned out to be true. That time, I never touched the computer and don't know how to type. They said, no problem, we give you an assistant to do that. So that girl is very convincing, and I think, why not? I always curious and want to learn. And once I touch the computer, it take me like half day to think of the one line to put on my first post, because I write down to express yourself need a reason, but to express yourself is the reason. That takes me half day just to use my one finger to tap it. And since that, I realize I don't want to sleep anymore. Every day I spend my time on internet. I just pick up any topic. I start.
Freedom is addictive, yeah.
Huh?
Freedom is addictive.
It's very addictive. It's yeah, I had some kind of illusion, and I even said, give me 3 years, I will change everything. And they gave me 2.5 years, they put me in jail. So it's almost there. I got like 27 million people visit my blog, and they repost everything I post, and each day I would post 1 to 3 articles. Every morning I just open the newspaper, I see some topic, I start to talk about it, and I got so overexcited.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
Well, they never know what they're. Let's go back to art. This is one of my
Art. What is art?
Exactly. Now you have the question. This is one of the images I feel more connected to, because I see art as a gesture. But I want to hear from you, do you consider this more like a gesture, like an image? How do you talk about this?
I did this 1995, around that time. That time I was not really an active artist. I had this Nikon camera, which f3, so you can take a very fast photo in 1 second or less than a second. So I showed my brother. So I said, please take the photo, and he missed at the first one. I didn't catch it. So I have a second vase, which is. It's a Han Dynasty, 2,000 years old. So and I told him, if you miss this one, then that's over. So he's a good photographer. He catch that image. Then that image just stayed there unpublished for about over 10 years. I never think it's serious. I never think it's more or less like a joke, but. It takes a serious person long time to make that joke, I think, and I didn't being recognized as an artist till 2004 or 5 to make my first show, so that's already 10 years past. So during that time, I realized on my resume, there's always a period of time, like 10 years or 5 years, I have nothing to write. I didn't do anything. I would just, I did something even not mentionable in this, in here. So of course, I printed out, then now I have sorry to say this become a serious image, but it really come as a joke.
Yeah. When I saw, and this is a gossip that I want to share with you, so you clarify the gossip. There was an artist called Caminero who went to the Pan Museum, and he took one of your pieces and broke it. And it was said that it was inspired on your own work. How do you react to that when you heard about it?
After he did it, he apologized to me. I think I write to him. I said something like, "Yes, you have rights to state your mind or to make a gesture, but also you have to bear some kind of responsibility for that gesture. Any any act we take, we have to bear responsibility. Doesn't matter. Otherwise, the attitude is never free. So, of course, I totally understand him. I would not say I would do same thing. I did same thing. So I don't really know what is the last result. I think they did a little bit minor charge with some kind of community work hours or something. Yeah. But, this is, but I mentioned, this is, you normally do to your own property. It's not encouraged to do somebody else's property because in the United States, we all know that's a violation of something,
Well, but at the same time, our work creates certain reactions, no? The work and the way we see art as in a very, iconoclastic way, let's say, also create this excitement from the audience to do something similar. So I think
did
this
that
is
in private, my home, and I don't encourage anybody come out of this room. This is a museum. If you really has to be careful.
I just wanted to clarify that because it was a lot of gossip and I didn't know what was true. So, okay, so here we have, talking about that. You have said that the reason why the government and this kind of non-freedom of expression can survive there is because they limit the information to ordinary people, so they cannot make any judgment or anticipate because they don't have enough information. That's a quote from one of your interviews, no? And you say we have to speak the truth and stand for the people and not for power. My question is, do you think change in China, or in China specifically, will come from top down or from bottom up? How do you, grassroots, how do you see the possibility of create change?
Yeah, there's many discussions where the change will come from. It's from top down or from bottom up. It's like we talk about when spring will come. It's come from the frozen river, the ice start to melt, or from the tip of the tree, the first green will come. I think mostly it comes from the temperature. So we have a trust on sunshine. When sun comes up, we all think, oh, what a nice day. Why we have to sit inside in the darkness to listen to this old Chinese guy talking about those things. So I think it comes from everywhere. Comes from you and me and everywhere, and come from freedom of speech, we defend very essential values, which is about justice, fairness, and without that, it comes from nowhere, it will never come.
Right. Yeah, and then we have another version of the same work.
Now I have more reason to have this.
Yeah, I think we both criticize our own countries, but also we criticize the West. Both of us are critic on both. At the moment, there is something that is happening in Cuba, and I wonder if it happened in China as well, at some point, where people from the United States and Europe go there, and they actually self-censor themselves. They go there and they see things that are wrong, but they self-censor. They accept the government doing things to people that they would not accept in their own places as a matter of principle. And it's interesting because a lot of these people, when you talk to them, they say, no, you have to be careful because I want to position myself in the future of Cuba, or in the future I have a space. And I think they don't understand that the future of Cuba is now. It's done by their own actions today. And that's how you shape the future of Cuba. So my question was actually, how do you think, or what do you think is our responsibility with others and with other places?
Yeah, I often been asked by same question by foreign, I would say the foreign politicians or businessmen or powerful person, they said, whatever we do may hurt you or would help you, or what's your position on that? I always tell them, there's no my position. What's your position on that? How do you think is right or wrong? You don't have to think about it may hurt somebody or to be courteous, but just do what you think is right. So I think that's the only. I think every day we have to ask the same question. Do we really can tolerate this kind of thing happen, this kind of society, this kind of suffering, and there's no excuse for not to give out your voice in any circumstance. So that's my answer. Yeah.
I wish more people do that. I'm doing a selection of what I like, so I'm sorry about that. So here, I want to make a little statement before we talk about this. I want to thank you, because in this series of work, you put a Cuban dissident. And I want to thank you because it's not normal that these people who are normally in Cuba are anonymous. And they actually very brave, and they stand in front of the government with nothing but their own bodies. And I want to thank you for that it was included in this list of important dissidents and important fighters for freedom. So that's my personal on that. So I want to go back to, okay, let me see. Sorry, you can see I'm not into sculpture, so I'm like, sorry. But we can come back when you ask questions. You can see all the images. Okay, so this is a very interesting work. I didn't know about this before now, and I was thinking it is kind of a representation of a very intense experience you had, and I was wondering, how do you negotiate the entrance of this very intense experience to places like a museum or the art world? How do you negotiate that? How do you do the transition? What are your tactics or your techniques to invite people to think about these issues that are so distant for their experience?
First, in my life, I never negotiating with art world, not a gallery, not a museum. I'm so privileged and lucky to have a chance to show in very important institutions and to be associated with many interesting people. But for me, art is the way I defense, and there's no negotiation. This is what I do. Take it or not to have me. So, and yeah, that's the way. It's always been like that. And from starting point on, I'm sure it's going to be till the end. So, but not everybody has this kind of privilege or luck. And of course, you have to consider many things. The museum is built for general public, and very often they use the taxpayers' money. So you have to have some kind of give and take in the display, and you have to be a little bit. Even you just like to eat spicy food, but when you have guests, you also have to cook some. Something like, now we have a lot of vegetarians, and, we have to be courteous to that. Yeah, we're in democratic society, so.
And here we have an image of, here, where you put the flowers for the camera. How do you think aesthetics can disarm repression? Or do you think it can disarm repression?
I think this is a very interesting topic, because my house has been surrounded over dozens of surveillance cameras. I ask them, say, why you need so many? It's such a waste. is that some kind of system breakdown or you prevent something? They said, no, you don't understand. Some belong to the street, some belong to the local governor, some belong to the state governor. So they don't trust each other. They have layers. And I don't know if they ever get together. So I decided to also have my own private camera. So each day, because I don't have a chance to travel, I think that's not right. How can you limit somebody's chance to travel? But also there's no space for argument. There's no sense of discussion. You know, if there's a little bit sense of discussion, then everything can be solved. So I said, okay, under this kind of condition, what I can do is just put the bike there and each day to put fresh flowers to give to myself, to celebrate my impossibility to move. So I did this day by day, and you know, this is from one image grabbed from our videos, you know, which our own surveillance camera. And after 600 days, or each day we also post whatever is on the internet. It generates a lot of attention. So on the internet, there's that period of time, there's called freedom for flowers for freedom. And each day I will receive hundreds of flowers from all over the world. It becomes some kind of movement. I think this kind of thing very, very disturbing for the authority.
Yes.
And they like to be clean. They like to say, okay, the voice is not there. But they cannot really stop this kind of action because there's no clear reason for them to stop. They also have their own reasoning and their own system. So to put our flowers there, they only say, Weiwei, can you not to do it? You know, they also negotiate. So I said, that's not possible. You know, you have my passport. I just put my fresh flowers there, and you know, this is not possible. So when you have this kind of negotiation, why you can win only because they know if they stop you or generate something else, which will be even worse than this. So I think this always way to bargain. So I'm a very good person in that. I've been proved.
Yes, you are. Yeah, I know. And also they sometimes they know they're going to look bad.
I mean, in those
but,
rights fighting, many people always have ideas, big ideas, but they forget to do very small things, which can relate to everybody.
Absolutely.
And it requires determination, and it requires some kind of skill. And I think that's very important because that brings a detail to life. It enriches our life. You know, it's just like the color or shapes of each individual flowers. It only comes when you have that. If you don't have that, you don't have flowers, you know. Yeah.
No, they know that very well, and they sometimes know they're going to look bad if they repress you because it's little gestures, but they want to show the power. They want to show they are the one in power. But another thing that I wanted to ask you is, one thing I want to say before talking about this piece is that it was funny in Cuba. Now I think the censorship, who work, of course, with the actual state police, before they censor your work, when you're going to show, they go to the exhibition to see what is showing, they say, no, this, no, this, no. Then they went to the studio of the artist, say, this, no, this, no. Now they imagine the work you want to do, and then they repress you for the thing you haven't even think about yet. So it's very crazy that they position themselves in our heads, no? But going back to the art world, you have made this wonderful piece from the cameras, and I mean, this is a question that happens a lot around you and around any successful political artist, me, you, everybody. there is always this question about the relation between the political statement we want to do and the success we have in the art world, or the success we have, or some political artists like you have in the kind of commercial world. And my question is, do you think, or do you struggle with art as a medium of efficiency? And do you, for the things you want to say, and if you think that this tension between the money that you receive for your art and the political statement you want to do is something that changes the desire you have to communicate the issues? I mean, how you relate to this conundrum that we have?
Your question is not so clear, but I try to...
I was trying to be polite.
I try to answer it. Yeah, I know, but that's not the right way, you know. I think being a political artist, or so-called political artist, first you're human. You know, you're not just making some statement without skill. You can play the game, you think you're smart enough, and you also can play all kinds of games, because that's about life. It's not about being political or not. I mean, surviving is political. And we are living in a society, we have to respect human behaving. And that could include so-called economically success. If I've been politically very active, but financially very poor, I will feel sorry for myself, also sorry for the basic values I'm fighting for. I'm not successfully communicating. I'm not delivering my knowledge, and I never really create a language or a skill for so-called ideology. Is that a clear answer for you?
No, but I have a follow-on question. But sometimes those objects or those images circulate in the places where the political friction or the political message is being erased because in which hands they are or how they circulate. So they take other meanings, you know. So
of course, there's always misunderstanding or misinterpretation. You know, we can never really control how the world, and it's like you jump in the river, you don't know where that would take you or really push you, or which side of the border you can reach. But still, the decision is, are you going to jump into it, or are you going to still think you can survive in this?
Do you think there will be for you other mediums other than art, or in art, that will be more efficient to show this kind of struggle? Or
I don't think so. I don't trust the media. Even this is the most important thing. Also myself, as a media, but and I think we change all the time, and we also have different kind of intellectual or levels. So I think in the public media, people there's really very surfacing, and it's never go that deep. And maybe because the viewers doesn't really want to be that deep, you know, people just want to see what can be seen, and you know, what matters in the very short time.
Talking about, let me show this work. I want to a little bit more in detail about this idea of ethics and politics. And as you might know, this image generated a lot of criticism and generates a very adverse reaction. The fact that you were posing like Alan Kurdi, a 3-year-old kid who drowned in the shore of Turkey, it was seen as a kind of, the substitution of one body from another, one body that actually captured the magnitude of the Syrian refugee crisis by another body of an artist or activist or somebody who, you know, is not going through this. So it did create some sort of ethical dilemma, you know, that a lot of artists discussed. And I wanted to know how you react to the claims that were done when you showed this image and everybody start questioning your position.
I don't react to them.
Okay.
My only position is let them react to me.
Okay.
And
But-
I made it very clear. And so.
Okay, but okay, you don't react. That's your right. But do you understand, or how do you see the way in which us as artists intervene in these situations that are not our own situations, and the responsibility we have to not take away from the situation the light? You know, because in this case, it was...
I'm an artist, I'm not a priest. I'm not necessarily saying what my act would be right or wrong. I raise questions, I put myself into those questions, and if I do care like everybody else care, I will never become an artist. I'm different, and I'll always be different.
And how do you feel with this image? Okay. And how do you...
To answer you
okay.
very clear, I don't give a damn shit about it.
Great. Okay. A last question about this image. How do you feel that an image like this, that was your personal
Image,
statement?
like anything, is an image.
Yeah,
you know,
I
we
know.
have a much, much worse image in the world. We can always accept it. You know, just take it or fuck it.
Okay. So, but sometimes we have to fuck the artist too.
Do it.
Okay, we have 5 minutes and we come back.
Just do it.
No, but I think it's an interesting conversation because right now, political art is something
Do
that
you
is...
know how many people died this year? Just tell me the number. How many people died in
Hundreds of thousands of people.
how many people died in past year? Not 100,000 people in this ocean. Just tell me the number.
I know there are millions of people who
No.
have died.
As a political artist, just tell me how many people was wrong in past year.
I don't have the exact number
Okay,
right now.
that's the right
Okay.
answer. 3,800 people dropped.
Okay. I'm not working on the saving crisis
I
at the
know,
moment.
I know.
but
You're
maybe
a
I'm
partially
inspired.
political artist, or you just
Yeah.
or a Cuban political
Yeah,
artist. I'm not like that. I'm very seriously about what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I think that, where does seriousness reside? Where does seriousness of your work reside? You say you're very serious about it. Where do you position the
I
seriousness?
know what I'm doing. I do clear research, and I'm more deeply involved than most people can even imagine about. You know, we did over 1,000 hours of documentary films on refugee situation. Personally, I interviewed over 100 politicians. That makes some sense. I traveled 12 nations in Middle East, in many nations. I don't even want to mention it. I visited over dozens of camps. I see all those children, those women, those pregnant, those old people, and I share what they feel and what in their fear or what they desired or how they've been refused. So talk about this topic, I will be too emotional even to answer you on this stage. You just watch my film, it will come out next year.
So what do you think art can do to solve this problem or to address this problem?
Art can do to teach ourselves to be a real person. First, we need the first-hand knowledge. We cannot just blah, blah, blah. We have to be real, and we have to be involved.
Okay, I'm involved, so. Okay, good. So, no, I think there is also a tendency to see art as, right now, as something that can collaborate with other, areas of, politics or society. So I think personally that the art, right now, art is extremely important to understand not only the situation, but also to solve it. And I think in a way, I don't know if, what do you think about this, but in a way, maybe one of the biggest challenges we have as artists today is actually not so much the modes of production, like what is happening in the mode of production, but how can we implement the ideas in society at large? I don't know if you...
Can you ask again?
Again, yeah.
Sure.
So for many, many years, the discussion has been about the ethics or the ways in which production of an artwork is made. And I feel that now this discussion is very old and we have very good arguments about it. And I feel that now it's more about how can we implement art inside society, not only to look at something, not only to generate something people can look at it, but something that generates a reaction, actually, that is about caring, a reaction that is about being involved, and also maybe even imagine other ways to solve the problems through our creativity that maybe politicians or, I don't know, organizations have not had the time or the
I
to
don't
do.
think we can find a way to solve the problem. I think the problem will always be there, and but we are not going to be always be there. So we're using our time trying to solve our own problem. We are part of the problem, and yeah, if I make it simple, it's like that.
Okay. So on that note, I want to see if anybody has a question. I did a project where I used 1 minute of free speech, and in 1 minute people say a lot of things, so I will encourage people to use a minute to make their question to I. And yeah.
Yeah,
Anybody?
if we make it short, we still have time to take selfies.
If you have a question, we ask that you line up on either side of the aisles and use the microphone.
What?
Hello, I don't have anything to say for the whole minute. I was just wondering, what is your thoughts about Russia and how Russia and China becoming best pals? So, thank you.
For you?
For you.
No, it's for him, no?
She just mentioned your name. It's for you.
Who's
Yeah.
the person for? For you.
For me.
Yeah.
My name is Weiwei, by the way. And, I think this question is very general. How China and Russia become a pal, and they're neighbors. Russia and China, it's probably two of the biggest nation in that area or that geographically. I don't think they ever can become a friend, and it's very hard for anybody to become a friend of Russia. And China is very practical. They have to have Russian as some kind of political allies. It's just like United States and Canada, maybe. And yeah, but they also share the problems. They often has been blamed together, but the world is not just United States or Europe. You have also balanced counter powers, and not necessarily is bad. Sometimes also is needed. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Hello. I've been a big fan of your work. I've seen it in Alcatraz at San Francisco, and I was also here 2 years ago, so it's a great honor to hear you speak today. And my question is, I know a lot of your work deals with very emotional subjects, just like with the work you did 2 years ago with you made the snake with the backpacks of the Shushan children, and just the whole concept of that series I felt was so emotional. So how do you reconcile that emotion with your work? How do you approach topics that are so overwhelmingly tragic or like so incredibly sad? How do you work with topics like that?
Well, as an artist, I'm always very emotionally involved. You can see even I'm on stage, I'm very emotionally involved with the topics. And I cannot, by doing something at the same time, not to really believe in it. So that I rather not to do it, It's, that's how it comes out like that. But the artworks you see is always just some fragments. And I should say my emotions are much deeper than those works. And, it's you always have to find a simple language, which, the language can be shared.
Thank you.
Hi. Of course, we talk about both of you being really kind of brave, risk-taking individuals in order to challenge an oppressive system or to be political at all. But I think there's also kind of bravery and risk involved in being an artist at all, anywhere. And so I was wondering if you just have any advice for someone trying to take the plunge and risk to make it as someone in the arts.
You're from here?
Yeah, from...
Should I answer the question or the lady should answer the question?
Either of you.
Huh?
You're both awesome. So.
Then you go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I think for me it is about, for me it is very easy, or it's easier, it's not easy, but it's easier to, as an artist, to confront issues of politics, of a government, and so on. I think what I do, and I wish more, and maybe you could do, I don't know, is that to not stay only in the criticism of the outside of the art world, but I think we have the responsibility, because we shape the art world, and the art world is also our responsibility, and we might have more impact there than we have in the government of China or the government of Cuba. And I think my advice will be that always say what you think is wrong, no matter what the price is, because, it will make you feel so good.
Thank you. You don't I think for me it's very easy. If you look at Trump, you think that person still can be your president. And if you get different answers, so you have to come out some kind of language to state your mind. Otherwise, this kind of thing can take over. It's crazy, it's dangerous, and it will affect our life. So we just to act, okay?
Hi, this question is for Aiweiwei. It's also a comment as well. First, I commend you. I think it's incredibly courageous to be a political artist. And I saw your work in San Francisco at Alcatraz as well, and I think it brought a lot of awareness, and really, I think my question is rooted in that is, what do I do with that awareness now? What do you suggest, big and small acts? If you aren't a political artist, what can I do to also hear my voice get heard?
I am not very clear what you're asking, but
what should we do? Like if you're,
what should you do?
Yeah, what to do with the awareness?
Take a shower, or open the window, or open the refrigerator to see what kind of best thing you can cook today. That's what I do. I never call myself as a political artist. Somebody calls me that. I think it's an insult, but I accept it.
Did not mean to insult you.
I accept it.
Why do you think it's an insult?
Because every art has to be political.
Okay,
if it's not political, it's not art. So if you just say somebody is political artist, it's insult. That's how I look at the world. Aesthetics always relate to moral, always relate to our philosophy, and some art can be really out of that, circumstance. I don't understand it. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, my question is for you, Aiweiwei. I'm also a great fan of yours. I've seen your work in Paris and Athens. And I think we all agree that you're a very famous and successful artist. And one of your ideals is freedom. Do you think that success and fame has given you more freedom, or is it restricting you?
I think successful is, if the words exist, it's just mean you're more recognized, or people give you some kind of security to give you some kind of categories, not to think deeper about this. And for me, it just means responsibility. And I just realized in past a few days, my blood pressure getting much higher. Used to be 90 to 140. Today, this morning before I walk in, it's 116, 150. So that's a bit, that's how for me, it's been, if I take so many selfies, I have to shake so many hands, and I have to answer the question repeatedly for very, very essential values. You need patience. You need to be okay. You said, okay, I have to do this.
Can I ask another question? Sorry, my turn. Hi there. First of all, I bug you quite a lot on Twitter, so thank you for being responsive and for not blocking me. Second of all, I was wondering if you've been in contact with and can therefore provide an update on your former lawyer, Pu Ziqiang. What does the future hold for him, and what role, if any, will you play in it?
Pu Ziqiang was a lawyer in China. Many people may not know him, but he's a kind of civil rights lawyer. And he was sentenced for 5 years, but not really in jail, but stays out at home. It's like you're being sentenced, but you're not being put in jail, as some kind of tolerance. And of course, I talked to him, I Skyped with him, but not much anybody can do. Even he, like me or many people, are defending the rights, but not everybody can sense that rights are shared by everybody. It's benefit everybody. It not only benefit somebody in China, but also benefit somebody in Africa. So people often see me as somebody who anti-communist. I'm not only anti-communist. It's really, they don't understand me. I'm defending humanity, which can be a problem anywhere. So, talk about Pu Ziqiang. He's still at his home, still worried if he talks to me. And, I try not to bother him too much.
Can I get a selfie later?
What?
Can we get a selfie later? Is that allowed?
You mean private selfie?
Maybe.
You mean when I become in some time, maybe I start my election, you can sue me for...
You're giving away my plan, come on.
Yes, we'll do selfie together.
Thank you.
Hi, this is a question for Aiweiwei. One of the strongest way to fight anti-establishment in the West is to use humor. And I think about France and America, but in France, the conversation about art and politics has a lot to do with a certain kind of humor. So my question to you is, how are you inspired by humor? What is your kind of humor? And do you think humor is an efficient way, no matter where you are, to fight whatever your political side is?
You use the words humor?
Yes, humor, yeah.
So what is humor?
So what is humor, in a way?
Yeah, my question is, what is humor? Tell me, what is humor?
It's a comedy, making something funny.
What is humor?
Yeah, I understand. Ha 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 ha.
To me, it seems that everybody has his own kind of humor. You're definitely within the realm of.
Use humor or not humor, we are act funny anyway, so don't worry about it. Thank you. Next.
Hi, this is for Aiweiwei. Nice to hear you in person. A little while ago, I watched a YouTube video of you, like being interviewed, and about art. And you said that art is not something someone can teach you. It's about your own motivation and experiences and interests. And you said the most important thing was to go out and see stuff. So I took that advice to heart. Last year, I skipped a lot of art class. I went up to a lot of galleries and saw a lot of stuff, and it really did help me. But I guess my question to you is, I was wondering if you can give us just some key points like that you took out of your time here in New York and what kind of shaped your artistic development and what made you come to that conclusion of the fact that art is not something someone could teach you.
I guess it's what asking me. I don't know. I don't know how to answer this actually. I spent 12 years in New York. If I think back, the most valuable thing again from my experiences as an outsider, I never even I looked at all the galleries the works I liked or the work I don't like. And I probably see most shows in the 1980s, but I still always feel I'm an outsider. I think that being an outsider is very, very important. And probably that's what Duchamp said, young artists should go underground. Underground is a bit poetic, but as a misfit or outsider, I think it's I make you very independent. And also, if you can make it, or make you quite independent, that is very, very important position for artists.
Hi, thank you very much for talking to all of us. I was reading a book recently called The Daily Rituals, How Artists Work. It talks about various creative people and how they spend their time every day. Some of them have like routines where they take a lot of various kind of vices. Some of them are like early risers. So I was wondering if you have any kind of daily routine that you take to think about art and come up with new creations and how that routine will be like.
You ask recipes?
Potentially, or something that you do every day that helps you with your creative work.
I think if you think too much about it, you'll never get it. And sometimes you have to forget about it and just enjoy the moment and enjoy whatever you like. And maybe you find somebody you can sleep together, but you just think about it, I think I see many people never get it,
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for coming. And I wanted to ask your opinion on...
sorry, it's such a long line. Or do we have a time limit? Or?
Maybe we can take 2 or 3 questions and make like a resume, and then you can answer 2 or 3 questions together instead of one and one.
I don't want to make people disappointed because it seems quite a long line there.
Okay, well, I'll make my question very short. What do you think about the social credit system in China? And it's the system that is purportedly used to rate a citizen's trustworthiness. I was wondering if you have any opinion on that.
Do you want to? Oh, sorry. Can you say that again, please?
I've been hearing a lot about a social
and
credit
can you speak
system.
a little louder?
I've been hearing a lot about a social credit system in China, where kind of like a credit score, they rate a citizen's trustworthiness. And For both of you guys, what do you guys think about that?
You want to? I can hear what you say.
But we can be silent for a while. We can answer the question being silent.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like common silence, like together. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next.
Thank you.
Just a heads up, we have time for just one more question on each end.
Oh wow. Okay. So, okay.
Hi, I was in Beijing in 2009 when Hu Jintao was still leading the country, and the 789 Art District was a big area in Beijing. There was a lot of growth in the art community there. How have things changed with the current leadership, and what do you see for the future of art in China?
It's very hard to predict the future, but to see the present situation. If we talk about art in China, which is really should be category because it's so restricted and limited, and whatever we see happenings today in China, it doesn't really affect the real condition in China. It's mostly made for the market in the West, and. Yeah, that's the situation. You know, it's not only a few artists. There are a few young artists may involve their works in dealing with the situation or their real life there, but it can be very difficult because you know basically, there's no real museums or criticism or magazines or newspapers which talk about a real aesthetic argument. It's just it becomes like a fashion. It becomes like a design. So it's kind of sad, but it will remain that way for a long time. When a society doesn't have a freedom of speech, you should not expect that much happening. And yeah, that's what happened in China.
Shishia.
Hi, so this is a question for Aiweiwei. So a lot of the kind of the themes that you speak about, freedom to criticize the government, freedom of expression, of speech, et cetera, seem to be foundationally, or at least kind of we like to think so, foundationally Western ideas that seem to be to some degree at odds with the current political structure and cultural structure in China. So my question is, what does your ideal China look like? And do you think that it's possible to achieve that goal given the kind of foundations that have been built in the country? And where do you think we can start to kind of reach your ideal?
I think for any place, under any religion or any kind of circumstance, individual freedom, which always defined by freedom of speech. Also, the society need an independent judicial system, which have a clear law to guide the mass behaving or individual behaving, and to have an independent press. Those are very important for the basic condition for any society. Not necessarily to say even you do have that, you will be healthy, but can be clearly say if you don't have that, you're really sick. And that's my answer. But I don't know how to achieve that. It takes sometimes it can take a long time.
Thank you.
We're going to take one last question over here.
This is not a question. I just want to thank you for being here. You're an amazing person. This goes for Tania. Thank you for being such an amazing woman, not only for Cuban, but for the Latin American artists in general. Thank you so much.
And the question that follows that is, is that you said earlier in the conversation that when we were talking about the person who broke your piece, you said that an artist has to take responsibility for the things that they do. And so when Tania asked you about the photograph that you reenacted, the boy who washed up on the shore in Turkey, you accused her of not being a political artist because she did not know an exact number of something that you researched. So how do you explain how that correlates with taking responsibility for your work? And also I'd like to thank Tania for being up here and being an incredible political artist who maybe should have had also questions. Thank you. So, could you answer that question?
Him?
I would like him to answer the question of bearing responsibility, because I don't know that it's bearing responsibility to tell someone else that they are not an artist because they did not do the same research as you.
Is that, I'm a little...
Well, I'd like either of you to respond.
Okay. No, I think I'm going to respond on my work.
Yes,
because
please.
I don't... I'm an artist who, I agree with that every art is political. Some people decide to go in, their politics is to ignore the political quality of their art and the capacity of being a political statement. But in my art, in terms of the responsibility, if that's your question, people who have worked with me know that I take more time thinking about what could happen if I do this than how I'm going to do it, aesthetically speaking. Because the aesthetic is the consequence. For me, political art is art with consequences. And being a political artist means that I have to understand where I position myself with those consequences and also make sure that I do not reproduce what I'm criticizing, because that's a very easy thing to say. And yes, I was a little, I'm a good student, so I was kind of like, I don't know the exact number, so I blocked. But I think for me, it's not to know the data. It's not about the data, about the subject you are researching, but it's how to transform that emotion that you're feeling into something useful for the others. So that's what I do in my work. Well, thank you so much. I just want to say that I really had a great time in the conversation, and I want to invite Aiweewei to continue talking together in Cuba.
Good, thank you.
and here in Brooklyn. So don't get up yet. Stay there for a second. One more second. So, I just want to say that at the Brooklyn Museum, we don't think about a museum only as a temple for art. It is a temple for art. And we don't only see it as a refuge for a place to get away from society. We also see it as a place to lean into society. And we also see it as a forum, a place to come together and share differences and to see one another and to lean into difficult conversations. And I have to say, you two were magnificent, sharing your similarities, sharing your differences, and being so honest and vulnerable and sharing that with all of us. So I want to thank you. I happen to be blessed to be able to have artists as friends and have dinner conversations and arguments, just like the kinds of things we saw on this stage today. But it is so rare that you see a public talk and artists have revealed themselves in the way that they did today. So I applaud you both for the courageous work you do and for the courageous conversation you had on the stage today. Thank you. Okay, one last thing. I just want to say, have a great time at the museum. Go to the Norm, have a drink, have a delicious lunch, get your selfies taken, and thank you for being here.